Have you ever noticed that the moment someone disrespects you, the real danger is not what they said, but what they pull out of you? Because that is how it usually happens. Not with some dramatic betrayal. Not with some cinematic act of cruelty. Just one comment. One smirk. One dismissive tone in a meeting. One message left on read after they made sure you saw their disrespect first. And in a matter of seconds, everything inside you tightens. Your thoughts speed up. Your chest gets hot. Your pride starts screaming for a response. And that is exactly where most people lose. Not because they were insulted. Because they reacted in a way that exposed them. The world is more performative than most people want to admit. A lot of social life is theater. Many people are not testing your intelligence. They are not testing your morality. They are testing your emotional openings. They are watching for the crack in your armor. They want to know one thing: can you be moved? Can you be controlled? Can your emotions be pulled like a rope in public or in private? That is why disrespect is never just disrespect. It is information. It is pressure. It is revelation. It shows you who they are, but even more importantly, it reveals who you become under pressure. Stoic philosophy understood this long before the modern world turned everything into ego, status, performance, and reaction. The Stoics knew that a person who cannot govern themselves will eventually be governed by anyone bold enough to provoke them. And that truth is even more brutal now, in a culture where people bait, mock, test, compare, and discard each other with a smile on their face. So in this video, we are going deeper than surface-level advice. You are going to learn the 5 things you must never do when disrespected if you want to protect your reputation, your peace, your self-respect, and your power. And stay with me until the end, because the final mistake is the one almost everyone calls justice, when in reality it is the most elegant form of self-betrayal. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Most people read that as a quote. The Stoic lives it as a discipline. Because in one heated moment, you can damage an image it took years to build. In one impulsive response, you can teach people that your calm can be bought cheaply. And once the world learns the price of your reaction, it will keep paying just enough to trigger it. So let's begin. 1. Never react in the heat of the moment. This is where most people fail instantly. Someone disrespects you, and your body reacts before your wisdom does. Your breathing changes. Your shoulders tense. Your mind starts scanning for the perfect sentence to throw back. Something sharp. Something immediate. Something that will prove you are not weak. But in that moment, what feels like strength is usually exposure. Because reacting too fast does not show control. It shows that someone else gained temporary access to your nervous system. They pressed a button, and you lit up exactly on cue. In other words, they did not just disrespect you. They reached inside your emotional world and moved furniture around. That is why impulsive reactions are so dangerous. They do not just create conflict. They reveal that your inner state can be manipulated from the outside. And once someone sees that, they may never respect you more. They may simply learn how to provoke you better next time. Think about how often this happens in ordinary life. A coworker talks over you in front of other people. A family member makes a subtle comment designed to belittle your choices. A partner says something cutting during an argument and watches your face change. Someone online mocks you and then sits back, waiting for you to perform your anger for free. Most people think the humiliation is in being disrespected. But often the deeper humiliation is in reacting exactly the way your enemy hoped you would. The Stoic does something different. Not passive. Not weak. Not numb. They pause. That pause is not emptiness. It is authority returning to its rightful owner. Seneca warned that anger, if not restrained, is often more damaging than the injury that provoked it. And if you have lived long enough, you know this is true. A single outburst can undo years of being seen as composed. One reckless reply can make you look smaller than the person who insulted you. Not because they were right, but because you let them decide the temperature of your spirit. Imagine your mind as a fortress. Every impulsive reaction is like opening the gate because someone outside threw a rock at the wall. It is a terrible bargain. They spend 1 second provoking you, and you spend the next hour, the next day, sometimes the next week, replaying it in your head. The disciplined person refuses that trade. Sometimes the most intimidating response is not what you say. It is what you refuse to become. You do not need to pretend it does not affect you. You do not need to become some cold machine. But you do need to stop worshipping your first reaction as if it were wisdom. It is usually not wisdom. It is wounded ego asking for speed. And speed is expensive. So when disrespect comes, create distance between the event and your reply. Go quiet for a second. Let the heat pass through the body before it reaches the tongue. Let the emotion arrive without being given command authority. Because the first battle is not with them. It is with the version of you that wants instant relief more than long-term power. And the people who remain dangerous in this world are rarely the loudest. They are the ones who cannot be rushed into becoming predictable. 2. Never over-explain yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. This mistake looks innocent, but it drains people for years. When someone questions your worth, twists your intentions, or speaks to you as if you need their approval, the instinct to explain yourself can feel almost irresistible. You want to clarify. You want to make sure they understand. You want to defend your heart, your motives, your effort, your dignity. You tell yourself you are just trying to fix the misunderstanding. But often, beneath that explanation, something else is happening. You are trying to rescue your image in the eyes of someone who has already decided how they want to see you. And that is where self-respect quietly starts leaking out. A person who truly knows their worth does not need to hold court every time someone else misreads them. Seneca understood this deeply. The more desperately you explain yourself to the wrong person, the more it begins to look like you are asking for permission to remain who you already are. That is the hidden humiliation in over-explaining. You stop standing in identity and start negotiating it. This happens everywhere. In relationships, where one person keeps twisting your words and you keep giving longer and longer explanations, hoping this time they will finally be fair. At work, where someone diminishes your contribution and you respond by trying to prove your value with too many words. In family systems, where certain people only seem to understand you when you are shrinking, apologizing, or making yourself emotionally available for interrogation. And in all of these situations, the trap is the same. The more you explain to someone who benefits from misunderstanding you, the more they feel entitled to sit in judgment over you. Not everyone deserves full access to your inner world. That sentence alone can save people years of emotional exhaustion. The Stoic understands that words are valuable. Attention is valuable. Explanation is valuable. And giving those things to the wrong person is not compassion. Sometimes it is self-abandonment disguised as patience. Epictetus taught that we should be more concerned with being good than appearing good. That matters here. Because over-explaining is often an attempt to control appearances. It is an exhausting war you will never win if the other person is invested in your confusion, your guilt, or your emotional labor. Some people do not want clarity. They want access. They want you to keep talking because every extra sentence puts you a little more on the defensive. Every extra paragraph lowers your frame. Every extra attempt to be understood makes them feel like the one who gets to decide whether your truth is valid. The Stoic does not hand over that throne. They speak clearly when necessary. Briefly if possible. Firmly when required. But they do not chase validation down a hallway. There is a quiet power in saying only what needs to be said and then letting silence do the rest. Because when you know who you are, you no longer feel compelled to perform your innocence for people who profit from doubting it. And if this touches something in you, it may be because you have spent years trying to make unfair people see you fairly. Many good-hearted people do this. They think more explanation will heal the distortion. But some distortions are not misunderstandings. They are strategies. And once you see that, you stop pleading for accurate perception from those who need you to stay emotionally available to their manipulation. That is not bitterness. That is clarity. 3. Never confuse avoidance with peace. Now we move to the opposite extreme. Some people do not react too much. They react too little. They tell themselves they are being mature. They tell themselves they are staying above it. They tell themselves silence is always strength. So they ignore the disrespect, suppress the feeling, avoid the conversation, and keep moving as if nothing happened. But unaddressed disrespect rarely disappears. It settles. It goes inward. It becomes pressure in the chest, tension in the jaw, resentment in the nervous system, distance in the relationship, and confusion in the self. You smile outside, but something inside you knows a line was crossed and left undefended. And that matters. Because what you repeatedly tolerate becomes the standard that others begin to follow. Not always consciously. But people are constantly learning your boundaries from your silence. If someone interrupts you again and again and you never address it, they learn. If someone speaks down to you and you keep swallowing it, they learn. If someone mocks you in subtle ways and you keep pretending it is nothing, they learn. And worse, you learn something too. You learn to mistrust yourself. You start feeling that your inner discomfort does not deserve protection. You begin telling yourself stories like, maybe I'm overreacting, maybe it's not worth it, maybe keeping the peace matters more than keeping my dignity intact. But that is not peace. That is internal division. And internal division is exhausting. Stoicism is often misunderstood here. People think Stoics simply endure everything quietly. But real Stoicism is not emotional cowardice with a philosophical quote on top. It is not passive suffering dressed up as wisdom. It is disciplined alignment. That means you do not explode when disrespected. But you also do not abandon your boundaries in the name of looking calm. You choose the right moment. You choose the right tone. You choose the right words. And then you address what needs to be addressed without chaos. That is real strength. Maybe it sounds like this. That comment was unnecessary. I'm not available for that tone. If we're going to continue this conversation, we'll do it respectfully. I understand your frustration, but don't speak to me like that. Notice something important. None of those lines are dramatic. None of them beg. None of them attack. They are clear. Clean. Adult. Grounded. That is what many people are missing. They think the only two options are emotional reaction or total suppression. But the Stoic path is neither. It is composed confrontation. It is a boundary without theater. Marcus Aurelius constantly returned to the idea of acting in accordance with nature, with reason, with inner order. And inner order is impossible when your mouth says, "It's fine," while your soul knows it is not. The cost of chronic avoidance is not just that others keep disrespecting you. It is that you slowly stop respecting your own signals. And once that happens, even your silence starts to feel heavy. So no, do not react in the heat of the moment. But also do not build your personality around swallowing injury and calling it wisdom. There is nothing noble about becoming a quiet storage room for unresolved disrespect. Peace is not the absence of confrontation. Peace is the presence of inner congruence. And sometimes inner congruence requires a calm sentence spoken at the right time, with the full weight of self-respect behind it. 4. Never seek revenge through other people. This is where disrespect becomes social poison. Someone hurts you, embarrasses you, dismisses you, or makes you feel small. You do not confront it directly. Instead, you go around the situation. You tell other people. You collect sympathy. You build a case. You try to gather witnesses. You damage their image inside conversations. You want support, yes, but underneath that, you often want something deeper. You want the emotional balance restored without facing the situation head-on. It is a very human temptation. But it is also a dangerous one. Because the moment you need an audience to regulate your hurt, your power has already begun leaving your hands. This is one of the most common social mistakes in modern life. Especially in environments built on politics, image management, and subtle competition. Offices, families, friend groups, online spaces, communities where people smile publicly and calculate privately. Machiavellian people understand something many good people learn too late. Once conflict becomes public gossip, it almost never stays clean. It mutates. It spreads. It collects interpretation. It becomes less about truth and more about alliances. And when you enter that game emotionally, you may feel temporarily validated, but you also become entangled. Now your pain needs reinforcement. Now your version needs witnesses. Now your peace depends on how many people agree with you. Now your nervous system is tied not only to the original disrespect, but to the social aftermath of it. This is not power. This is dependence in elegant clothing. Epictetus taught that strength comes from governing your own response, not from controlling the opinions of others. That principle matters even more in a world obsessed with public narratives. When you recruit other people into your resentment, you may win a little temporary support, but you also keep the injury alive. You replay it. You feed it. You sharpen it. You make it part of your identity for the week, the month, sometimes the year. And the cruel irony is this: the person who disrespected you may move on while you remain spiritually chained to the event because you turned it into a social campaign. Of course, there are exceptions. Real abuse, real danger, real institutional issues may require involving others wisely. That is different. That is not what we are talking about here. We are talking about the common temptation to soothe wounded pride through indirect retaliation. The Stoic path is cleaner. If it needs to be addressed, address it directly. Calmly. Precisely. Without performance. If it does not deserve your energy, withdraw it and move on. But do not scatter your dignity across multiple conversations in the hope that consensus will heal what clarity should have handled. A powerful person does not need a crowd to confirm their boundaries. A powerful person does not turn every wound into a committee meeting. There is something deeply dignified about refusing to make your pain into a spectacle. And there is also something deeply strategic about it. Because when you do not gossip, do not recruit, do not perform your injury for social currency, people learn something about you. You are not easy to drag into mess. You are not available for low-level games. You will confront what matters or leave what does not. Either way, you are not feeding the machine. That kind of restraint is rare now. And what is rare becomes formidable. So if someone disrespects you, resist the urge to create a chorus around your hurt. Not every bruise deserves an audience. Not every offense deserves circulation. Sometimes the strongest move is to deal with it cleanly or leave it behind so completely that it never gets to live in 10 other people's mouths. 5. Never lower your standards to match their behavior. This is the final mistake. And in many ways, it is the deepest one. Because it feels justified. Someone talks down to you, so you talk down to them. Someone becomes petty, so you become colder. Someone humiliates you, so you decide to humiliate them better. Someone disrespects your humanity, so you temporarily abandon your own values to prove you are not weak. And for one brief moment, it can feel satisfying. It can feel like balance. It can feel like strength. It can feel like justice. But more often than not, it is lost wearing the mask of victory. Because the moment you become like them in order to defeat them, they have already shaped your behavior. Their standards entered your system. Their ugliness dictated your method. Their chaos rewrote your posture. That is a subtle surrender many people never even notice. They think, at least I didn't let them get away with it. But the deeper question is not whether they got away with it. The deeper question is, what did it turn you into? This is where Stoic discipline becomes more than emotional management. It becomes identity protection. The Stoic does not remain ethical because the world is kind. They remain ethical because their principles are not seasonal. Their standards are not dependent on how other people behave. They do not need the environment to be clean in order to stay clean inside. That is what makes them difficult to corrupt. Marcus Aurelius wrote often about not becoming the thing that disturbs you. That may be one of the most practical warnings in all of Stoicism. Because when someone drags you down to their level, the real tragedy is not the conflict. It is the contamination. You can see this happen all the time. A calm person becomes sarcastic because they have been mocked too often. A generous person becomes hard because they have been used. A sincere person becomes manipulative because they are tired of being outplayed. A principled person becomes cruel because cruelty finally feels effective. And every one of those shifts makes psychological sense. But not every understandable reaction is worthy of your character. Machiavelli is often misunderstood as permission to become ruthless in every direction. But the deeper strategic lesson is not random cruelty. It is understanding human nature without becoming enslaved to its ugliest impulses. See the game clearly, yes. See the masks, the vanity, the social theater, the manipulations, the false innocence. See all of it. But do not hand your soul over to the very ugliness you finally learned to detect. That is the real challenge. Can you see the darkness in people without letting it rewrite your center? Can you witness pettiness without becoming petty? Can you recognize disrespect without becoming vulgar? Can you respond with strength without borrowing your methods from people who have no standards at all? That is a much harder path than revenge. But it is also the only path that leaves you intact. Because once you lower your standards to match theirs, you may win the moment, but something inside you starts losing trust. You feel it later. In the silence after the argument. In the replay afterward. In that strange emptiness that comes when you got the last word but not the peace you thought it would bring. Why? Because self-betrayal always leaves residue. The Stoic understands this. Their consistency is not naivety. It is discipline. It is the refusal to let external ugliness determine internal architecture. So no, do not confuse retaliation with strength. The strongest people are not the ones who can become monsters on command. The strongest people are the ones who can stand in the presence of disrespect without handing over their values just to feel powerful for 10 minutes. Real respect is not built by winning dirty exchanges. It is built by remaining unmistakably grounded in who you are, even when the world offers you countless invitations to become less. Here is what most people never fully realize. Disrespect is information. It tells you how someone behaves when they feel safe enough to drop the mask. It reveals their level of restraint, their character, their immaturity, their insecurity, their need for dominance, their hunger for reaction. But just as importantly, it shows you where your own work is unfinished. Every time someone crosses a line, life is handing you a test much deeper than the moment itself. Will you react, or will you observe? Will you overexplain, or will you stand in quiet certainty? Will you suppress, or will you protect your boundary with calm precision? Will you gossip, or will you remain clean and direct? Will you become like them, or will you remain loyal to your own standards? That is the real battlefield. Not out there. In here. In a world built on noise, bait, performance, ego, and emotional leakage, the rarest kind of person is the one who stays composed without becoming passive, sharp without becoming cruel, self-respecting without becoming theatrical. That person cannot be easily manipulated. That person cannot be easily baited. That person does not belong to the emotional economy of other people's immaturity. And because that is rare, it becomes powerful. So the next time someone disrespects you, remember this: your reaction is never just a reaction. It is a declaration. It tells the world whether your peace is cheap, whether your identity is negotiable, whether your standards are stable, whether your mind belongs to you or to the last person bold enough to provoke it. Stay aware. Stay measured. Stay difficult to move. Not because you have no feelings, but because your feelings no longer rule your direction. That is not suppression. That is mastery. And if this message found you at the right moment, then let me ask you something real. What is one moment in your life when you wish you had stayed calm, said less, and kept your standards instead of giving someone access to your reaction? Drop it in the comments. Sometimes the first step toward mastery is not pretending you have always been strong. It is being honest about where you gave your power away. And if you are building that strength now, quietly, day by day, subscribe to StoicCraft. Because in a fake world full of emotional traps, protecting your mind may be the most important skill you ever learn.